Welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks and I've gotten some good work done. And this weekend we put the wings on. So that was big news. So I've got the wings on, the lighting is wired, the flaps work. I have not yet hooked up the ailerons, but wanted to chat about the wings because that was the biggest project. I did some more work on the empennage and a few miscellaneous things, but the big thing is just the wings. So it took us a total of 2.5 hours to hang both wings, and that was just to get them in place and get all the bolts through. And then I went back later and put the nuts on and got everything torqued down, and that took me another hour and a half at least. I'd put an email out to my neighborhood. I live in a flying community, and had enormous numbers of people come over. One, I think a lot of people wanted to see the plane, and then two, everybody's just so helpful. So I had a lot of assistance, a couple of A&P mechanics that live in the neighborhood, several guys who have built planes, some multiple planes. So anyway, I had a lot of help. So I'll throw some video and some pictures of us working on the wings. So the right wing here took us an hour and a half. It did not want to go in. The opening for the wing spar right in here was super tight, and then the bolts, even though I froze the bolts in dry ice the night before, they just would not go through. We had to ratchet them through the holes, and it's very time consuming. We couldn't punch them through at all, and so it just took a lot of time. So we had, luckily I have a guy who's a neighbor who's a mechanic, a weekend mechanic, but he's really good, and he was able to get some tools together that I didn't have, and a couple other neighbors ran home and got a couple other extensions and this and that, and we got all the bolts in except one of the bolts, the top bolt. We damaged it trying to get it in, so I don't have a spare, so put in an aircraft spruce order. So everything is in except for this bolt, which I have sitting on the table, and then the top bolt here, and then on this wing, and then on the other one I'm completely done. So the other wing was a completely different story. And of course, we knew what we were doing a little bit more, but for whatever reason, the spar went into the little cavity, like the first try. The bolts, they're still really, really, really tight, but we were able to just tap them with a brass punch and a rubber mallet, and they popped in through, no problem. And then we were able to get them, tightened up, and I was able to get the nuts on and everything today. So there was the plugs that go in these from the factory to help make sure that I took them out 2 days ago. I left them in for the entire build just to make sure. And they were in there pretty tight. I had to yank on them to pull them out once I pulled the bolts out. But the bolt for this one and that one, they put it in the wrong way, basically. And the floor interferes with it, getting it out. So you either have to cut it off or you have to flatten a section of the floor. It's really, I don't know, just if on mine somebody put the bolts in backwards, or if that's how they all come, but it was really ridiculous and it irritated me. And then the bottommost bolt closest to the side of both sides is really, really, really hard to get to. So just kind of be warned. The inside skin there is in the way. It's the front. The front, I had already put those front panels in, and the what's gray here, the metal underneath it, those are in the way, and you've got to bend them back to get to those bolts. And the fuel lines are right there, so you got to get those out of the way. Another kind of weird thing is when we were putting these on, we assumed this was going to go on top of that, but it does not, at least in my plane. And it's exactly the same on both sides. So it was just kind of so when we had everybody out here trying to push it in, they were trying to push this over, but nothing would line up until we just got it up even with that. So that's kind of a weird visual thing that just kind of keep an eye on. If you have that, that's the same situation I had. Let me come around. The flap. So there's a bushing that goes on the, can kind of, let me zoom in there. That bushing, I put it on the inside. We started out with it on the wing side, but it makes it hard, so we slid it onto the plane side, and then I'll show you another thing that I did that I think was helpful to make sure that it was centered. Was I did some tick marks on it. So I measured the bushing itself. So I did a little line in the middle, and then I don't know if you can see this, but you can kind of see I did some tick marks to kind of show those are at 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, just because I wasn't sure exactly where this was going to fall once we mated everything up. So I just wanted to make sure I had it centered. So I did that, and I think that was a helpful to make sure it just made it very clear to me that I had that little bushing centered on the flap torque tube. I haven't programmed it yet, but I have run the flaps up and down. So let me zoom back out. So we're all good with that. I just got to program the stops for the automated stuff. And then I got to put the landing lights in. I did one on the other side a year ago. I never got to this one. It's prepped, but I haven't finished installing it. And the wingtip lights work, but I'm trying to think of any other hard stuff. Again, I think it's just kind of hit or miss with whether yours just go in easily or if it takes a lot more effort. Because like I said, this one was an hour and a half. The other side was maybe a little more than 20 minutes to get it in and get all bolts pushed home. So, and I was using dry ice. So I had gotten a bag of dry ice from our grocery store. You can see my cooler still there. Still got some dry ice in it. It's still cold. Whether that helped or not, I have no idea. But I did that because some other builders had recommended it online, and it was no big deal to do that. You just got to wear gloves when you're pulling it out of the bolts out of the dry ice. Make sure you don't burn yourself. So that was one thing that we had to make sure we do. I just put the cooler in the back, and we pulled them out one by one as we needed them. So anyway, that's pretty much the update. It's an exciting step because it looks like a plane now. I don't have that big of a hangar, so it's I have a lot less room than I used to have now that the wings are on, and I've got to move around or get rid of some of my build tables. So it's a big change. But anyway, that's it for this week. Hopefully everybody who's building is going well, and take care till next time.